That's funny you asked that, man, because when I came home in '97, man, nobody in particular ran the prisons, or just depending on what part of the state you were in. East Tennessee, Aaron Nations run the prison. More Middle Tennessee, Nashville, Chattanooga area, the blacks run the prison. Now that you have a large amount of Crips, not any particular Crips, but just Crips as a whole, you have a lot of Crips or the gangster disciples in different prisons. They may run a particular prison. On the West Tennessee, you have a lot of the same. In Memphis, man, it's a lot of gangster disciples and vice lords, man. So I would say that they probably control that part, along with the Crips, gangster disciples and the Crips. Probably in the prison system in Tennessee, I would say, from Middle Tennessee to West Tennessee.
Okay. And I think earlier you mentioned something about putting some people on while you were locked up.
Yeah.
Okay. Talk to me about the whole recruiting process and how you try to grow in numbers.
Well, man, I mean, back then, man, again, we had no clue, and a couple of guys, like I mentioned, that was from two particular Crip sets, man, really introduced that lifestyle of being put on. So we just followed suit, man. Those couple of guys put on a few guys themselves. And for myself, there's initiation. I mean, you understand initiation, man. So that's how they went. We didn't have a particular place really in prison because prison is so open. So you might have to fall in the bathroom or in a single cell or something, and put a cat on. So
now I know when you mentioned when you first got locked up that, Crips and Bloods were a new thing. Fast forward to 1997, was it more prevalent behind bars? Like, did the numbers grow drastically?
Yeah, they started to grow. By the time that I was on my way out, they started to grow. The difference is Los Angeles, man, California, when you're dealing with prisons, it's a street gang that, get locked up. Gangs members will get locked up for doing whatever, gang banging or whatever. It's a totally difference in Tennessee. Since we didn't have gangs on the street initially, a lot of the gangs were formed in prison until enough of them were able to come out, get out, and then start to initiate. So the process was totally different.
Okay. Want to go in another direction a little bit, but how important, especially at that time when you were coming up building and things like that, how important was it or is it to touch base with the land, the quote unquote land, for people out there who don't know what I'm talking about, Los Angeles?
Yeah. Well, at the time I had lost contact with my OG homeboy from the county jail to the pen. So initially we didn't have a contact, but for the two older cats who were from Main Street and from 87 Kitchen and 87 Gangster, they kind of taught the lifestyle of cripping. Being from Hoover, nobody could really actually teach me how to groove, which is a difference. Teach me about the H, which we say, the H is number one. Hoover is number one, meaning it comes before cripping, because it was Hoover's before it was anything, before the Crip was even put on it. So, at first we just had to kind of go with the flow, man. And then once I came home, I wanted all of that to change, because I was heavy in it. And I wanted to make sure we got the right education about it, the knowledge about the history of where we claim who the Hoovers were. From the 4 trade to the one way, I needed to know. So that's how that happened, man. When I took the trip, called my family members and took my first trip to Los Angeles, man. I was on a mission, so I can bring that same knowledge back to Tennessee and spread the word, man.
And to the best of your knowledge, why did Five Deuce decide to stay Crip while, the other Hoovers went the criminal route?
I know that firsthand because a few years ago, back in 2007, 8, 9, I was shooting a documentary, One Nation Under Rule, LA to Tennessee, where I had a lot of OG Hoovers on the documentary, man. Somehow I lost that footage thanks to Culver City Police in Los Angeles. But that's another story. Once the Crips started fighting the Crips, man, the homies, other than the Five Deuces, the rest of the homies didn't want to claim Crip anymore. Because they figured, why be a Crip? Why stay a Crip if we only killing Crips? But, the Five Deuces is going to stay the same. They didn't change the criminal, and that's another thing that got tangled and twisted outside of California, that when the whole Hoover card changed to criminal, except Five Deuces, a lot of cats, especially in Tennessee, thought that that's what it was. And actually in New Jersey and New York, because I had the opportunity to go out there and straighten that situation out, where a lot of Five Deuces thought that they was criminals and Crips, which was the craziest thing I've heard.
Interesting. Okay. So you kind of like an ambassador to go to different cities, and I guess that's the best word, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm an ambassador, but I was called upon. I think the cat out of Trenton, New Jersey, and Camden called me while living in Los Angeles at the time, and had heard my name in the streets or whatever, and through somebody else, cats contacted me through social media. They flew me out to Newark, New Jersey. And I had the opportunity to meet cats in Irvington and Newark, Plainsfield, and Patterson, Asbury, all was Hoover. They had different sets of Hoovers in New Jersey too, but have a few 107 Hoovers and Five Deuces, and up there. So yeah, man, I had the opportunity to do that, man, because like I said, man, you have these cats who, some of them are run outs, got kicked off the turf, booted out the turf for some from Los Angeles, man, and they'll just go to other states, other cities, man, and pretend to be something that they wasn't or not anymore. You know what I'm saying? And maybe because they grew up in that community, they say, I'm from Five Deuce, or I'm from Swans, or whatever the case may be. And for a person who don't know any better, man, they'll believe that shit, and take to it, and then become a fucking active gang member, but never seen the soil, man. Everybody has to see the soil. Everybody got to come to the land, man. So they was Five Deuce Hoover Gangster Criminal Crips in Newark, New Jersey, and I can't take the ambassador role, but I can actually definitely say for a fact, and many can vouch for this, is that I changed that whole narrative, the whole look. So after I left, them guys became Hoover Gangster Crips. So